Hello, hello, hello. Happy Sunday, everybody. Come on in and check in, check in, check in. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to all of you. And happy New Year. So we're gonna have open chat session today. Check in with everybody from the holidays. I know that everybody was doing their thing and you know having some family time and some trips and all of that. So we're just gonna come in and chat for today and talk about the holidays, lessons learned from 2025 and some of the goals and plans that we have for 2026. So come on in, guys. Check in, check in, check in. I I hope you guys are enjoying your Sunday, the first Sunday of 2026. I had a great church service day. Y'all probably can see my eyes are still puffy when I tell you my church service today was so great and it totally wrecked me today because when you're expecting so much for a upcoming year and somebody prays over you and they say certain things that that you specifically was talking and asking God for, and they speak those things in their prayer over you, it just broke me. And so I know, that made me realize that, we hear that song about God don't play about me. But that really made me realize God don't play about me. Like he hears me, so today it was just a phenomenal church service today. So but come in, come on in, come on in. I'm excited. It's our first episode of 2026. And I want to make sure that you guys are ready to set on chat. I know you guys don't have a break. Y'all don't been off of work. Some of us don't been on trips and all of that good stuff. But look, it's time to head back to work tomorrow. Head back. Some of us are heading back to work. Full week of work. Been off for a minute. So yeah, I got to get on into work and finish up where I got to finish up at. So I don't have a problem with going back in. But I do want to go ahead and start because I want you guys checking in and chiming in today as we get started. We're gonna I'm gonna pop up some questions on here and let me know where you're checking in from too. Like if you're checking in and this is your first time checking into the podcast, look, like and share. So we want to make sure in 2026 people get an opportunity to get to know Chit Chat Podcast and become part of our podcast family. And so if you haven't already, if you've enjoyed one of our episodes before and you haven't shared it, share the episode. So you never know how it might be a blessing to somebody to listen to something that they might need at that time in their life. So, but I just want to, I hope everybody enjoyed their holiday time. I hope they had some time with family, friends, some time off. I hope everybody got what they wanted for Christmas, all that good stuff, because that's what the holiday time is all about. And for, the upcoming year, I know that, people do different things, traditions, people have superstitions, all that things. So we're going to talk about all that stuff today because, we got all these crazy superstitions about your black eyed peas and your collard greens and all of that kind of stuff. And so we're going to chat about that, chat about all that good stuff today. But, so when you get to checking in, let me know where you're checking in from. But I want to open up. So welcome to our first episode of 2026. A new year doesn't arrive quietly. It shows up carrying everything we survived, everything we learned, and everything we're still becoming. And before we rush into goals, titles, or timelines, I want us to pause right here together and take a moment and reflect on what 2025 was for us and what we want 2026 to be for us this year. So I'll give you a moment for that. Now, if you made it into this year, that alone is a victory. So give yourself a round of applause. If you made it this year, that alone is a victory because everybody didn't make it. So some of us walked in healed, some of us walked in hopeful, and some of us walked in tired. but still standing, and that matters. So it don't matter how you came into 2026. You might still be broken, and that's okay, but you made it. 2026 is not about perfection, it's about alignment. It's about choosing peace over performance, purpose over pressure, and growth over pretending we're okay when we're not. This year, we're not shrinking to be accepted, we're not explaining our worth, and we're definitely not carrying what was never ours to begin with. This is the year we show up as our full selves, messy, evolving, learning, and intentional. The year we stop waiting for permission and start honoring our own voice. So, wherever you're listening from, wherever you're restarting and rebuilding or rediscovering yourself from, know this: you are not behind. You are right on time. Ain't nothing too late. So don't think you're like, oh gosh, when am I gonna get married? When am I gonna have kids? When am my husband gonna come? You're not too late and you're not behind. You're right on time. So let this be the year you trust yourself again. The year you speak what you've been silent about. The year you choose you without guilt, and you welcome and the year that you welcome all things good for 2026. So let's talk, let's heal, let's grow together, and let's enjoy 2026. So that's my opening for you guys. Look, we had a plethora of episodes for 2025, and a majority of those was based off of healing, because a lot of us, including myself, was dealing with things that required us to go through some kind of growth process, some kind of healing process. And we included, our new collaboration with Mr. Juan Lee, who now is with us once a month. He's a relationship coach. He's with us once a month. So he's an added addition to Chit Chat Podcast. And I love it. I love the fact that, he's that added addition because he gives us that professional insight, so we're not just chatting, off the wall stuff or whatever. We get that refresh, professional insight from him that kind of pulls us back in when we're thinking what we want to think or whatever. So it's good. I'm glad that he's an added addition. I'm glad that we have him on our team now. And I look forward to many more collaborations with not just him, but with others as well that I've been chatting with. So we do have some upcoming episodes that will be enlightening. I know that I've shared with you guys about my pageantry journey. So I'm in this the Miss Petite USA pageant. And so the national pageant journey is July of 2026 in Chicago, Illinois. And so myself and all the other contenders at each state representative in their division will be competing that night, that weekend in Chicago. And so each division will have a national title winner. So I'm in the Elite Miss, which is the 40 plus category. And so we'll have, every woman, every state representative for their state, representing their state for the pageant, as well as, those who are region title holders. So I'm a region title holder. I'm a Miss Elite Miss Mid Atlantic. And so Miss Mid Atlantic covers the region of New York, from New York all the way to West Virginia. So it goes down New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, DC, Virginia, and West Virginia. So that's my region. So that's the area that I represent for Mid Atlantic. So I'm excited. So you'll get an opportunity to meet some of my sister queens starting next week. We're gonna start having them on next week. I'll be doing interviews with them, so that way you'll get a chance to see some of the other ladies and get an idea what they're thinking with their opportunity of being in the pageant in the different divisions. So you'll see the different divisions. Some are in the Miss MISS. So that's the young girls, like 19 through, whatever, that's not married. And then we have a Miss MS, Elite Miss, which is my portion, is the 40 plus. And then we have a Mrs. So those are the ladies who are married, that are like my age. So we have, and it's exciting. And then they have a team portion too as well. So you'll get a chance to meet some of them. They're excited too. I put it out there. I'm like, hey, I was thinking about doing an episode so that you guys can be interviewed and, talk about the journey to nationals, since, it's already in January, and, it's July, January to July. So they all was like, yeah, I'll do it. So they, they're excited about it. So I'm excited to have them on. I have not met a lot of them in person. We're in our group together. And so we've been getting to know each other in the group and doing certain things. We did Christmas exchange and all that kind of stuff, and getting to know each other that way, and doing other things in the group. And so, but some of us have became really close, like Miss Elite, Miss Oregon and I are very close. And she's all the way on the West Coast. But we just really connected. And so but it's just that kind of thing. But y'all know I'm all about a sisterhood and a womanhood. Anytime that women can get together and be united for a common cause or whatever. I know we're all competing for one title or whatever, but to me it's not like a competition, because each individual bring their own flavor to the stage, right? And so we're all to be judged based off what we bring. And so you know, I can't be jealous or anything about anybody, or vice versa, because everybody's bringing something different. We all have to present a platform. And so our platform will be presented. My platform is called Chic. It's based off the Chit Chat Pod. It's the Chic, CHIC, and it's the courage. I had to I have to pull it up. I'll tell y'all next week when we start the thing. But anyways, it's off of the Chit Chat podcast. And so about building women up and providing a safe platform to motivate, support, encourage the everyday woman. And so and that's what this platform does. And so it gives an opportunity for us to present a platform and showcase our platform, be interviewed on our platform, what it's about, what it do, all that kind of stuff. And so I'm excited that, Chit Chat Podcast get that opportunity, with this pageant. So that's all I'm going to share for that. So I'm going to talk, I'm gonna bring up the first question. So I know everybody had holiday time, probably with friends, family, and all that kind of stuff. But what role do you play in your holiday celebration? Are you like the host? Are you like the cook? Are you like the planner? Like, who does what, during the holiday celebrations? Like, let me know how you guys, plan y'all holiday celebrations. Who's doing what role you play? I'm usually the planner. I'm usually the planner, the cooker, all of that. But but I like doing that stuff. I did event planning before, had the event planning business, and I was doing that before. So now I might get back into it, during retirement, because that's the stuff that I love to do. Decorate, all that kind of stuff. I don't know if I'm gonna get back into doing weddings, because that was a lot, doing weddings. But so I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But what role do you play in your holiday celebrations? So when it comes to holiday celebrations, what role do you play in those celebrations? So I know a lot of us have people that we like, choose to be like, oh, so and so is gonna make the macaroni and cheese, because they make the good macaroni and cheese. That's her job for the potato salad. So what role do you play in your holiday celebrations? So when holiday time come up, are you nominated for something, and they'll be like, oh, we want your pound cake, or we want your macaroni and cheese, or we want your potato salad. So what role do you play in your holiday celebrations? So post that in the chat so we can talk about that. What role do you play? Hey, Wendy, my classmate. Like I know Wendy and her family always are planning something and they always have family time. So Wendy, what role do you play? I know you probably like the planner. I know you probably definitely like the planner because she's such a mommy. She's such a mommy. I'm trying to get my kids into like, being like a host and having that host opportunity or whatever because, they need to learn how to do that stuff. So so what role do you play? Like I've been trying to give the roles to the kids now to do certain things. Like, I'm trying to pass on Jada to mom, the family celebrity. When to say the planner and the hostess. Okay, the hostess with the mostest. You always need the hostess with the mostest. I think that's who I am. The hostess with the mostest because I do the mostest. You know, I'd be like overcooking and it'd be always, food for a bunch of people and it'd be a handful of people. So, I just be want to make sure people are good. They got food, they can take food and stuff like that. So I'm always like overdoing it for sure. Jada, you are not the family celebrity. I'm about the family celebrity. Oh gosh, you gonna have to get in line then because there's so many of y'all. Y'all be acting up. But yeah, because when we do family events, a lot of times our family celebrations, whether it's during a holiday time or for a birthday celebration or anything, sometimes you're designated a role. People be like, "Hey, I'm gonna need your help with such and such." What's your role? What's your role? What is your role? So post that in the chat. What's your role? And while y'all are thinking on that, I'm gonna go to the next one. So, everybody comes up with, all this stuff for New Year's. Ever since I was a child, there, we always had black eyed peas on New Year's. We had collard greens. We have certain foods, right? And it wasn't until I got older, I realized that was just a superstition kind of thing. And so I was like, have anybody ever really got lucky off of any of the traditions that we've been doing since yay big? I mean, because as much as we've been eating black eyed peas for New Year's and collard greens, we should be rich, rich, like rich, rich. For real. Like, if the black eyed peas supposed to bring you good luck, that was the saying. The collard greens supposed to bring you money. Like, where my money at? Like, where is that? Because I love me some collard greens there. So, but we've been doing that for years. So, what are some New Year's traditions that you do, or some foods or superstitions that you are aware of? That was just some that I know of. So, but there's plenty others. People do different other things. This year we kind of got out of the superstition thing because we haven't got rich yet. Exactly. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not cooking all that kind of stuff. We've been doing that for years. And I was like, mm-mm. Look, and if I didn't hit that $1 billion lottery, last week, then all them black eyed peas and collard greens I've been doing for years, yeah, it ain't did nothing. Jane, I actually started eating the 12 grapes under the table last year and had completed my vision board. What is that, Jada? What is eating the 12 grapes under the table? I know you did your vision board. Pink or red panties for love. What? Now that's my first time hearing that. What, Jada? Well, Victoria's Secret just had a sale. They had them on 50%. They have 50% off. I was in Victoria's Secret yesterday. Got them fit the bras and the panties. So whatever superstition Jada is talking about, the pink and red panties, go to Victoria's Secret. They got 50% off right now on the bras and the panties. Yeah, I think the panties are 5 for 30 right now. So yeah, I hooked that up for the panties because I was like, yeah, let me grab some of these. But yeah, it's 50% off. They got a 50% off sale on their fragrances and lotions and some of their holiday scents they had or whatever. All of that's like 50% off. So yeah, I went kind of crazy in there yesterday. They say you eat 12 grapes at 12 a.m. and manifest your goals while you're eating them before. Oh, I've never heard of that. Mm-mm. I never heard of that. You never told me about that, Jada. Where you get that from? Was that from TikTok? And I got all the stuff on my vision board completed except for a dog. Oh, okay. Awesome. Does anyone know about what the thing is about the cinnamon? Oh, cinnamon is supposed to be for money. Are you talking about the cinnamon in the hand? Like putting cinnamon in the hand? It's supposed to be for money, supposed to bring in abundance. The cinnamon supposed to be for abundance. TikTok. I figured it's probably a TikTok thing. Yeah. But Wendy, yeah, I think the cinnamon is supposed to be for abundance. Yeah, I remember reading that somewhere, probably YouTube or somewhere where I read it. But yeah, I think the cinnamon is supposed to be for abundance. So yeah, yeah, there's so many different like traditions, and I know there was one that you're supposed to let a man, if you're single, whatever, you're supposed to let a man walk through your house for the first of the new year or whatever. Sure, I ain't did that in years. That's probably why I'm still single. That's probably why I'm single because I ain't did that. I'm like, ain't nobody finna walk through here. I gotta check their spirit. I don't know what their spirit is like. I don't know anybody just walking through here. And Jay said, and you wear red or pink panties for love for New Year's Eve and oh girl. Did I have on I didn't have on red or did I have on red or pink? No, I had on gold. I wore gold on New Year's. But I did have a great New Year's Eve. It was a great New Year's Eve and a great date and all of that kind of stuff. So, we'll see where it goes. Don't wash clothes on New Year's Day. Yeah. Or sweep. That was one of the things that my mom used to be like, you can't sweep or whatever. Are you going to sweep somebody out your life or something like that? I can't remember what the real saying was, but it's something like that. And then, you're supposed to do all your cleaning and, decluttering and cleaning and all that kind of stuff before the new year or whatever. So I still do the cleaning though. For some reason, I just still do it. I do my cleaning. I'd be like, yeah, let me go and get this house clean. But that's normally because I'll be traveling during that time. But yeah. Oh, yeah, those are some fun things. We're gonna go to another one. Let's go to a more serious one. Some lessons learned. We talked about that. Some of us probably came into 2026 in different ways. Some of us came in healed, some of us came in broken, some of us came in restored, some of us came, it was different. If for all of us, it was probably different. But at the same time, it doesn't matter because we made it. And because you made it, you still have another day, to get it right and to get things right for this year. And so based off of that, what was some lessons you learned in 2025 that you don't mind sharing? Because 2025 was a growth year for me. It was a growth year and a healing year. And I'm still, healing. So it was a growth year and a healing year for me. And so I think one of the lessons that I learned about that I'm definitely keeping in 2026 and going forward is people having access to me. I'm not letting everybody, everybody don't get access to me. And that's important because, and then we talked about that today at church too. That's important too because you don't know what people are carrying. some people are carrying spirits and demons and different things that they're dealing with mentally and spiritually and physically or whatever. And those things get transferred. And then you want to know why you start act you being you're irritable, and you start acting, having attitude and different stuff, and then you start having these little, depressive thoughts or whatever. Usually it's because, and then you didn't have it before, it's because the company you keep, the people that you have around you, people that you don't allow access to you. And so we have to be mindful of that because energies do transfer. And so we want to make sure that we are protecting ourselves when it comes to that. Um, and so that's why, having access to me going forward is going to be one of my priorities. Everybody don't get access to me. You know, and that's going, I mean, and it's not me putting up a wall, that's creating a boundary. And I learned the difference between boundaries and walls. We can have boundaries and still create healthy and strong relationships with people and friends and families. Boundaries don't keep people out. Boundaries just establish, ground rules or whatever. Walls is when you build walls up, that's what keep people out. And so I'm not trying to build a wall up to keep people out. I'm just creating boundaries so that it's established that these are the things that, no longer serves me. And so, you know, with these guidance, in order for you to be, able to have access to me, there are going to be certain stipulations in place. Like everybody don't get access to me. And that's going to be important too because there's different things that I'm about to get ready to do. And so because I'm about to go into a different place, elevate into a different place or whatever, I can't allow everybody access to me because everybody don't have your best intentions. And so people, there's people out there that will try to get close to you just to break you, bring you down, or to tear you down. And I don't want that kind of access. I don't want those people having that kind of access to me with the things that I have planned for 2026. And so, yeah, so that's one of my stipulations this year. Wendy said, in order to heal, I had or have to fix the underneath, still in progress. So, absolutely. And we're constantly going to be evolving, with the healing process because there's going to be things we got to constantly work on because we want to make sure we're not being triggered by certain things. And so, so it's an ongoing thing, but it gets better as time goes by because certain things don't bother you like it bothered you before. And so that's when you in a place of healing. I was listening to this song this morning before I went to church. So that's what started the puffy eyes. I was listening to gospel, and I had it playing downstairs on the TV, and I was upstairs getting dressed, doing my makeup and stuff, and this song came on, Balm in Gilead. I'm old school when it comes to gospel. And plus I used to be a praise dancer. So, so hearing songs, sometimes when I hear it, I'm seeing myself dancing in the spirit. And so I can do a whole dance in my mind, just listening to a song. And so when I heard that song or whatever, it made me think about my healing process that I felt like God was giving me the indication that there's a balm in Gilead. Like you're being healed. Continue to heal because you're there. Like you right here in Gilead where the balm is here. Like it's available to you, to complete your healing, for you to walk into all the things that you need to walk into in 2026. That's what I took from it. And so hearing that song, it just, I mean, and I heard that song 1,000 times, even danced off that song. I've heard it 1,000 times, but this morning when I heard it, it hit me different because I'm in a different season of my life. And because I'm in a different season of my life, it spoke to me differently. And so hearing that bomb in Gilead, I felt like that was my spiritual message saying, you already at the healing well. get this balm so you can continue, you can go ahead and complete your healing and walk completely in everything that, the promised land in 2026. So so it just totally tore me up. And then I went to church and I got wrecked again. So but yeah, you know, yeah, those are some of my lessons. But yeah, Wendy, yeah, you're gonna have to, when we're working on the inside of us, it's gonna always, be a work in progress because we're gonna always be under construction. A lot of times we fix this outer part up, but the inside is what really needs to work. And that's where a lot of people get fooled because people put on that facade and that mask, and they mask a whole lot of things or whatever. And they smell good, they in they good looking clothes, they rocking, they expensive stuff, or they're spending their money and showcasing, you know, um, their lifestyle or whatever, but their inside is like rotten, like a core of an apple, And so if none of that is ever fixed, it don't matter what you look at, what you trying to portray on the outside, because eventually what's inside going to show up on the outside. So that's why it's always important to work on that underneath, work up under that hood, work on the inside, because because what's in you is gonna come out of you. You know, the Bible tells us, about our heart, to guard our heart, because out of that flows the issues of life. So if we're constantly allowing our heart to be broken all the time, or our heart to be used and abused and all this kind of stuff, then we're abusing ourselves. We're allowing that abuse to happen, because the Bible tells us to guard our heart, because out of that flows the issues of life. And so because of that, we want to make sure that we're not putting ourselves in position to be hurt, used, and abused, played with, all that good stuff. So we want to make sure that, we are working on the inside. We're being whole. We're being healed. All this is being worked on the inside. So anything that tries to trigger that we've already created, a healing place. We already at Gilead. We getting that bomb at Gilead. So but so yeah. So continue whatever lessons that you learned in 2025. Look, take those lessons learned and apply it in 2026 and elevate, motivate, encourage, support, do everything that you necessarily have to do so you can be a better you in 2026. So that's what it's all about. We got to be learning from these lessons, because when you don't learn from them, guess what's going to happen? You're going to repeat them. And you're going to repeat the same things until you get what you got to get out of it. That's why you see people going through the same cycles, repeating the same cycles over and over and over again. It's because they refuse to work on the inside. They refuse to work and do the work. And so when they refuse to do the work or whatever, they can only put on a facade for so long, or only mask things for so long. Eventually, what is real is going to be revealed. And so all that's going to showcase. And so you have to make sure that you are working on you, and you're learning these lessons so that you're not repeating it. You're not on this hamster wheel doing the same thing over and over again with a different person, or a different place, or a different, job, or whatever the case may be. You want to make sure that you're learning from these lessons, because, when we stop allowing life to teach us things, and we start learning things, that's when we start living. And so we have to be mindful of that. So God said, I came so that you have life and have it more abundantly. So He wants us to have abundant life. He don't want us to have no mediocre, average life, And that's what I be telling myself. Sometimes I'll be like, am I doing too much? Because I know I get, people be mad at me and jealous of me of different things, and I'd be like, well, am I doing too much? But and then I have to talk to myself. No, you're not. You're not doing too much, because God says, He came so you can have life, have it more abundantly. And because you in a place that you've worked hard So that way, he's gave provisions for you to work hard to be at a place to enjoy life like this. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not waiting on my husband to enjoy life. I'm not waiting on my husband to take me on a trip. If I want to go on a trip, I'm going to take myself on a trip. If I want to go to dinner, if I want to buy myself a steak, if I want to eat, whatever I want to do, I'm going to do it because I'm in a place where I can do it for myself. So that's why, when when that husband comes, he's just going to be an added addition. We going to build together. It's not going to be, I'm relying on him or he relying on me. No, I been did all the things that I needed to do. Hopefully he's done all the things that he needed to do. So yeah. So those are lessons that you learned in 2025. So y'all keep putting it in the chat if you feel like sharing some of the lessons that you learned in 2025. So but since we talked about lessons we learned in 2025, what are some goals? What are some plans? What are some of your visions you have for 2026? You know, um, we can't go in, we just can't come in 2026. We coming in with big energy. What's the plan? What's the goal? What we about to do? And you don't have a game plan, we need to write the vision and make it plain, because without it, sometimes we don't strategize, or we'll fail, or we won't stick to what we need to stick to. And so, you know, be true to yourself when it comes to that. When you have goals, make sure that those goals are goals that you know that you can obtain. You know, those goals are reachable. Don't be putting yourself out there trying to, if you know you're not going to be a millionaire at the end of the year unless you miraculously win the lottery, then don't be trying to make that a goal. You got to make sure it's like attainable, it's reachable, and all that kind of stuff. You know, so that way you're not setting yourself up like you don't fail by the end if you haven't reached that. So you know and that's what I did when I started my weight loss. I started, you know, a few pounds at a time. And then when I start consistently reaching that, then I was like, okay, I can up it now. I can up, and this, if I'm gonna up the pounds that I want to lose, then I know I got to put in more work. So that means I need to go work out every day of the week if possible, or at least 5 to 6 days of the week. And that's what I did. And so, so you got to make sure that, when you setting these goals, you setting things, measurable things in place to be able to attain that. So, and the same way with your plans or your visions, it's the same thing, you know. Jada did her vision board. I did a prayer wall. It's just like a vision board. I did a prayer wall because I'm an intercessor by my gift. I intercede. I'm always been a prayer warrior. And so so I'm always constantly praying for people. And so I just figured I would do that because sometimes we forget, some of the victories we have in prayer when we've been praying for people. People be like, oh, you know, I forgot to tell you so and so happened, thank you for praying for me. And I'd be like, oh, okay, great, awesome, all this kind of stuff. And we forget sometimes. And so, having that prayer wall and writing stuff down and then putting in the, answer prayer envelope sets you up. So that way, if you ever having a moment where you feel like you in this thump, this slump where you like, I need a push, I need a reminder, how God done it before, he can do it again kind of thing. That's when you can go to them answer prayer envelope and pull out some of them prayers that's been answered, and you see, you know, and those are the things that God wants us to do. That was instructed for the children of Israel when they was headed to the promised land. They was told to take stones and put stones down as they was traveling across, to put the stones down as a memorial to remind them of where they traveled from, where they came from, how God blessed them, from Egypt to the promised land because they was in bondage there. And so that was that was their way of, God showing them, what he's done for them. And so putting those memorials down was like a reminder. It was those rocks down this memorial was like a reminder. So that answered prayer envelope on my prayer board is a reminder. It's a reminder of the things that I pray for that God has done. Some of us are living right now on answered prayers. Answer prayers for my parents, for my grandparents, for people who've prayed for us, whether it was for a job, for healing, for a spouse, whatever it is, for a baby, you know, um, some people are living on answered prayers. And sometimes we have to be reminded, that our prayers have reached that realm where it needed to be answered. And when it got answered, you need that reminder. So that way it pushes you to do more, to pray more, to do certain things, and that's what when you're setting your goals and your plans and your visions, remind yourself, even when it becomes like halfway in the year, June, July timeframe. Okay, I'm looking at my vision board. I know I said that I was trying to, get this, and this done. I'm halfway there. I got 2 out of 3 things done. So, I got time. So, let me continue to, keep working and pressing my way forward because sometimes we will, and that's why vision boards and stuff are so good because everything that you put on paper or everything that you say you want to get done or whatever, you're seeing that every day. So if you put it in a spot where you know that you're gonna walk by it every day and see it every day, then it's gonna be that memorial for you to remind you, okay, did you pray about this today? Don't forget we're working hard on these goals. Don't forget that we're working on this vision, or whatever. So that's a reminder. It's a reminder for you. And that's what you have to like keep in mind because we want those reminders. Because when we see those reminders, then we see, oh gosh, I was there and now I'm here, or I used to do, I used to have that and now, I've been blessed with this, so those things are important. Those things are important. So don't sweat the small wins either. Every win is a win, whether it's small or big. Every win don't have to be big and announceable. It can be a small win, you know, celebrate those small wins too. Because when God sees you celebrating those small wins, guess what's gonna happen? The bigger wins gonna come. And so always give credit what's credit due to. Always give credit what's credit due, whether it's people I work with, or work for, or whatever I'm collabing with. I always give credit what credit's due. If they've done things, contributed, whatever the case may be, I'm always appreciative of people's service and people time. Because people don't have to give you their time. They don't have to give you their time. They don't have to give you their talent, and they definitely don't have to give you their money. So if people are investing and doing certain things, then you want to be appreciative of that. You want to be grateful, about those things. So, so yeah. So what are some of the goals, plans, and visions you have for 2026? If you don't mind sharing them, post them. Post it in the chat. I know that I already shared with you guys about my retirement plan. So my package is in. They're finishing up my package. They had one part, that was delayed, but my supervisor got that stuff in. And so, and then we was off for those 45 days for the shutdown. So, I told him, I said, my plan was to retire December 31st, but you know, I'll work and continue to get a paycheck till y'all finish. So, because that makes sense. And then plus with, I have, my son is graduating college in May. And so depending on where he's going to law school at or whatever, he can be all over this United States for law school. So depending on where the money is and where he's going to law school at. And so so there's different things that, I have planned for that. And so so but we're, this time, probably this, not this time, but the latter part of this year, I will be relocated in the South, back down South. And so I will not be staying up north because I'm a Southern girl, but I will be relocated back down South. And so yeah, and and I'm excited. I'm excited about it because um one, because my retirement is going to go way farther in the South than it will up here. But but my roots are down south. And then there's things that I want to do that I have planned, for business wise and all of that kind of stuff in place and in the works. And so after this pageant, yeah, I'm gonna be out pretty much. And so from this area, but I am very grateful and thankful for the vision that God has planted in me, because there's some things, I'm telling you, when I say God has been just like imparting things in me, like what He wants me to do, as far as what He wants me to do personally, and then what He wants me to do as far as ministry, and then what He wants me to do as far as business. And so, and I know it's provision because when God gives provision, doors open. Doors open, resources become available, all that kind of stuff happens. God don't ever give provision, ever give you a vision without provision. And so He's gonna make sure that the things are in place for you. And so you know, I'm excited about that. So when you are setting these goals, plans, and creating your vision, keep that in mind. All of 2026. You know, we probably ain't gonna check off everything right away, but don't sweat it. Make sure everything is attainable, and you can reach it or whatever when you're putting those things down, because we want to be successful. If we're creating this for a year, we want to be successful at the end of the year. So all right, so we're gonna go to what is one thing you were certain about not bringing or doing in 2026? What is that one thing that you were so certain about that I ain't bringing this in 2026, and I'm not doing it in 2026? Mhm. I know y'all probably seen the saying, there's two places, and somebody wrote it on Facebook. There's two places that I'm not going in 2026, and that is back and forth with you. And I love that. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have to add that to my list. So there's two places that I said that I'm not gonna be doing in 2020, going back and forth with somebody, period. Because at the end of the day, what you know, what I state, what I claim, what I say is a boundary is a boundary. I'm not repeating anything. I'm not sitting here negotiating. I'm not painting red flags white. I'm not giving benefit of the doubt. None of that. If I tell you, if I tell you, A to Z, it's A to Z, period. It ain't no blurred lines. We can communicate or whatever, but at the end of the day, look, I'm not giving benefit of the doubt, because if I've already communicated that with you from the beginning, then there's no other discussion about it later. I'm not doing that. That's a waste of time. It's a waste of my energy. So yeah, that's one of the things I said in 2026. Yeah, that's one thing I'm certain. I'm not gonna go to them two places back and forth with you. If I told you once, this is an issue for me. If I told you once, this is a problem for me, and you continue to do things, cross boundaries, be disrespectful, whatever the case may be, then your access is cut. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. And when I cut access, I cut access. I don't spin the block. I ain't trying to go back around. I ain't trying to, none of that. When I'm done, I'm done. So, that's how I be. When my cutoff game is real strong. Everybody, hey, look, my sister Norma had told me for years, you got to work on that. No, I ain't working on it. because at the end of the day, I have told people, I have said this is these are the stipulations. When you cross those stipulations or whatever, those are creating boundaries. When people cross those boundaries, then they let you know exactly how they feel about you when they cross those boundaries. And I ain't trying. I'm not giving you no blurred lines on that. So that's mine. So, what are some of the things you were certain about that you're not bringing or doing in 2026? I know there's some things you guys probably got that you were certain about. Like, I ain't doing this, I ain't doing that. And I know I'm not waiting on nobody to travel with me either. If I say I want to go somewhere, I'm just gonna go. I'm not waiting on nobody to travel with me. But I just told my daughter, I think yesterday or the day before yesterday, I was like, this is what I'm doing for my birthday. I already decided what I'm doing for my birthday. And she told me, okay, I'm gonna go with you. I was like, wait, hold up. I haven't even gave you no invite. I didn't even say you can go with me. And she trying to invite herself. And I'm like, wait, hold up. So, but yeah, you know, I'll be okay. I'll be okay. Look, because I'm the type of person, I meet no strangers. So when I go places or whatever, I'll be talking to people like we don't know each other the whole time on the trip. And because I'm a people's person. And so so I don't have problem with meeting people. My kids don't either. They're just like me. They don't meet no strangers, and that's a bad thing sometimes, especially when you out of the country or whatever. But I'm very mindful of my surroundings and all of that. That military life did that for me. So, but um, but yeah. So one of the things that you certain about and that you're not bringing in 2026. Look, I thought I wasn't gonna be bringing my grand dog in 2026 with me, but he's still stuck with me. I've had him since the end of 2024, had him all of 2025, and we all came in 2026, and he's still with me. So now, since his daddy is getting ready to graduate, I told his daddy, I was like, you know, my house my husband gonna be built so that Brownie has his own little play space outside, and it's fenced, and he have his own little safe space to be outside and roam around and do what he want to do when he want to do it. And I said, so Brownie is going with me. He told me, oh, is that so? Yeah, that's so. I don't had him all this time. Joker. You ain't want that baby. You been a little deadbeat daddy. So, and I think Brownie wouldn't have it no other way. He want to go with his grandma. So he gonna go with his grandma. So we're gonna be headed down south. So I mean taking my baby with me. But yeah. So let's go to I think I got two more of these questions. Um okay. Did you outgrow some things in 2025? If so, what was it and why? What were some things you outgrew in 2025? What are some things you outgrew in 2025? Did I outgrow some things in 2025? I'm sure I did. I'm sure I did. I've been more because I've created the pageant page, and then I opened my page up so for followers, so made it like a public figure page. I've been more open to not being so guarded and so um because I know if I'm gonna have a platform like a podcast, I gotta have followers, so people, and then like not that I'm trying to be a social media influencer, but when you're on that kind of platform, when you have social media or whatever, you have to be engaging, you know. And so I've been a little bit more engaging. So in the morning times, when I'm headed to work, I do morning nuggets, little videos for morning nuggets to do like morning motivation stuff or whatever. So I've outgrown being so guarded because I used to be really really guarded. Like yeah, Like people, you'd be like, God, you so hard. But I've softened up a whole lot. I really have. So but yeah, so I think I kind of outgrown that, you know, being so hard stage, because I don't have to be. Sometimes we feel like we have to be, we got to be tough, we got to be soft, we got to be hard and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, and then, there's people that come along and just make you be safe and soft, and it creates a soft and safe space for you. And you realize that you ain't got to put up a fight. You ain't got to put up all that. You ain't got to do all that. Everything ain't got to be, a struggle, a fight. There's people who really actually communicate and talk and understand and got emotional intelligence and things of that nature. People who are consistent, people who, you know, are truthful, trustworthy, those kind of things. And when you have that, it makes it easier, where you don't have to have that hard outer shell. You don't have to be like on guard, back up off me kind of thing. And you know, you can create, you can be, you give that space to be creative or whatever. And when I tell you my creative juices are flowing too, my creative juices are flowing. Like I stuff from the baking business to what Chit Chat podcast we're going to go into in 2020, the latter part of 2026. Um, Another opportunity I'm about to do for my a personal business opportunity for me. Um, so I might be able to like hire you guys. So it's just going to be, a whole lot of things that, that I have opened myself up to give myself an opportunity. So I don't be so guarded, because when people think you guarded, they take you the wrong way. And then when they really get like, oh my God, I love your vision. I love how you're driven. I love how you strategically think. I love this, and this. Let's collab. Let's do this, and I've been hearing a lot of that. People been reaching out. Hey, I want to know how can I get on to Chit Chat podcast? I have a book. I have this. So people have been reaching out. We're not just going, looking for things to do for our podcast anymore. People are actually reaching out, and so that shows me there's growth. And so when I see that, it gives me an opportunity to let me know that, I don't have to be so sheltered, so guarded and all of that, because people welcome, the opportunity of things when you're open and, you know, um, you don't have to be so vulnerable, but be open to giving people opportunity to get to know you. They got to know the host. If I'm the host, and people want to know who the host is. They want to get to know the host. And so I have to give an opportunity, and even with the pageant, people want to know who Miss Mid Atlantic, Miss Elite Miss Mid Atlantic is. So, they got to get to know me. They got to get to know me as a person, so, this is a woman that holds the title. Who is she? What's her background? She's a military vet, she's retiring from federal service, all this kind of stuff. So there's things that people want to know and have to know to get to know you kind of thing. Because you never, trust me, you never know who's watching you. You never know who might be interested in investing or collaborating with you. And so you have to give opportunity when opportunity is, open and present itself. So be mindful of that. So sometimes you might have to outgrow some things. Outgrow it, being shy and closed off and sheltered and all that kind of stuff. Open yourself up. Nobody's saying you got to be totally vulnerable and and expose everything. But that was another thing. I learned that, not to expose everything, because there's people who literally want what you have. And so and because of that, I learned that a hard lesson of that, thinking I'm sharing things, in good faith of let me share, my happiness, let me share my love, let me share, my love life or whatever the case may be. But, people see that. and people are like, I want that. And so everybody is not cheering you on or happy for you or whatever. And so you have to be mindful of those kind of people too, because some people are out saying, I want exactly what she got, or I'm gonna get what she got, kind of thing. And so, and you can be, totally blindsided by those kind of things, because there's people who literally, watch your life and they want your life. And so, and they will mimic or do whatever to have your life. And so you have to be mindful of that. But don't let it, shut you down for being who you truly and authentically are. If you are truly are that kind of person that, loves and gives and a people person or whatever, don't let that shut you down for being that way. Because at the end of the day, imitators will be imitators. They can't have the original, the authentication of who you really are. So they can't take that from you. So, so, keep that in mind. So we got, um, share something positive to the podcast family to motivate them through. That's going to be our last one. Share something positive to the podcast family to motivate them throughout 2026. What is something that you want to share? Share something positive that will motivate somebody. It can be, a motivation, saying a script or a scripture, or you know um you know something to motivate and support somebody um in our podcast family. Post it in the comments. Post something motivational that somebody can pull and say, hey, I seen this podcast and somebody posted this. Let me write that down so I can put that on my mirror, see that every morning, or I can add that in my affirmations, or whatever the case may be. So one of the things I think about, and one of the things I think about, and it's been very prevalent to me in probably the last half of this year. And one of the reasons why it was one of the main reasons why I decided to put in my retirement is because of this quote. My mama used to always say, if you don't stand for something, then you will fall for anything. And I'm a big advocate of that. If you don't stand for something, then you will fall for anything. If you don't stand on business about your principles, about your values, about who you are as a person and what you believe in, then somebody easily can come and trick you right off your post. They can trick you right out of your mind, trick you right off your job, trick you right out your position, all of that. If you don't stand for something, then you will fall for anything. And that is so serious, because there's so many people out here manipulating, tricking, you know, uh, lying, playing folks, doing different things. You got to make sure that you standing on business about the things that you believe in, what you truly know to be true, what you stand on, your principles, your values, your morals, all of that stuff. Because there's people out here don't care nothing about morals and values. There's people out here don't care nothing about ethics. They don't care about nothing. All they care about what they can selfishly gain for themselves, and they'll hurt anybody to get it. And so we have to be mindful of that. When did I like yours? Put God first in all you do, and He would take care of the rest. Yes, I'm a big, yeah. And then a scripture aligned with that is Matthew 6:33. The scripture that aligns with that. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and all His righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. So if you about God's business, He gonna be about your business. That's pretty much a sum up. If you put God first, He gonna take care of you. You know, you take care of His business, He gonna take care of your business. Yeah, I love that one, Wendy. And I always, when I'm in a sunken place or a highly place, I'm always putting God first, because I know I know where he's brought me from, and I know that I'm not where I am by myself. I always give him the credit. And people always say, "Oh, you're such a great mom. You know, such and such." And I'll be like, you know, thanks be to God, because there was days years ago, I thought like, how in the world, I'm gonna do this. You know, I used to tell my kids, I used to have crazy vision. Ask my kids, crazy vision. You know, took a job that took like a $25,000 pay cut one time, because I had to do it to get myself on the government side to move up. And and I told my kids, give me, I said, I think I told them, give me 4 or 5 years. And I did it in 4. And I was like, give your mom 4 years, 4 or 5 years. I can't remember which year I told them, but I did it like a year shot of what I told them. And and they was able to see it. They was able to see me create that goal. And I told them, hey, look, I had to take this job for a pay cut because it's going to put me in position so I'll be able to. And I told them, I know I'm going to work hard to move up. That ain't going to be the problem. I'm going to work hard to move up, but I got to position myself to get there. And so I had to do that. I had to leave my government contractor job to go into the government field, and it was a big pay cut. And I had to tell them, we may not do the vacations we was doing before. We may not go on the little trips that we were going before. We may not do some of the fun things we was doing before. We'll eventually get back to it, but but it's just for this time. When mommy gets there, I promise y'all gonna get what y'all, always had. And so and that was, I kept my word on that. And they saw that. And so when you see them working hard now, it's because they seen that firsthand. They seen how they mom made goals and plans, and she pressed forward and made those and reached those goals and those plans, and then created more and did the same thing. And so that's why I'm always like, praising them, because I know it takes a lot. I know it takes a lot. And then coming from me, I know it takes a lot. Me as a parent, I'm tough on them. I'm tough on them because I know how life is going to be tough on them. So I want them to be able to handle when life do get tough on them. Then they'll all be like, we can handle this because we dealt with Shan. Shan was our mom, so we know what toughness is, kind of thing. But I don't sugarcoat. I've never sugarcoated anything for them. I'm gonna tell them, like, I'm beat you upside the head if you don't do X, Y, and Z. I didn't want to sugarcoat nothing for them, because I wanted them to realize, you can make one mistake and find yourself, in a whole different direction. And so you know, so we have to be honest. We have to be honest with them. We can't sugarcoat nothing. Plus, these kids will find out real quick on their own. Because these kids are not like, kids were when I was younger. But we were too scared to do something. We'd be like, my mom gonna kill me and she find out. We snuck and did certain things, but goodness gracious, these kids have, whew, honey, these kids they don't care. They be like, I'll get the punishment after the fact. I know at least that's how my youngest is. And he's be like, "Well, I get in trouble after the fact. Let me go on and do it. And I just face my consequences." So thank God for maturity. Because honey, yeah, he don't matured a lot. So now when he go and be the lawyer and advocating for all the other people that he need that don't broke laws and did different things, he'll realize back in the day when he was doing stuff. So he can be the greatest advocate for those people. But yeah, so what are something positive you want to lead the podcast family to motivate them through 2026? That's what we're gonna leave on. I'm gonna give you about 1 more minute to post in the comments so people get a chance to read them. So post what you have. It could be a scripture, it could be something that something that somebody influential on told you that you live off on, a motto, something. But post it so that way we'll be able to, people, you can share it and people can pull from it, because iron sharpens iron. We need each other. So when when we help each other, we're helping ourselves eventually. So, but yeah, mine is if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. And so, and that goes for anything, whether it's job, career wise, as a parent, in relationships. I mean, it goes for anything. We got to be able to stand on our principles and our values and our morals when it comes to the things that we believe in or what we say, you know, embodies who we are as a person. So who our character is. Otherwise, somebody come trick us right on off our game, and you'd be like, whoa, how did this happen? Or whatever, you know. And we see people fall all the time. And you'd be like, God, what happened to them? Because, so somebody got tricked off their game because, um, you know, they weren't strong enough. And when you ain't strong enough, look, the Bible tells that the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy, you know. So he's an adversary. He's always looking for somebody who's weak, somebody who's, you know, who's can be easily manipulated or easily, pulled into lust or pulled out of something or, so we have to be mindful of those things. If you don't stand for something, then you would fall for anything. And like Wendy said, put God first. I don't know what your religion background is or if you have a religion, but put God first in all you do. If you take care of God and put him first and take care of his business, he's gonna take care of your business. And that's on period. That is on period. So God God never fails. His love never ends. He never fails. So but guys, that's all I have for open chat session for our first Sunday of 2026. I just kind of wanted us to chat on some things, lessons learned, some things we've done, some things we got accomplished, some things we're looking to do in 2026, motivational stuff that keep us going. Those are the things that thank you, Wendy. Those are some things that keep us going, keep us motivated, give us that big energy. Because every day ain't gonna be sunshines and rainbows. We already know that. There are gonna be days that are gonna hit us hard, where they're gonna feel like it's thunderstorms and mud flows. But we got to be able to push ourselves through it, work our way through it, or pray our way through it, whatever the case may be, and then lean on those that we can lean on when necessary to help us, pull us through and pull us out of situations. So, and that's what this platform is about. That's what Chit Chat Pod is. You know, our motto is we chat all things women, but our background is to support, encourage, motivate, and support, encourage, motivate the everyday woman. And so we want to make sure that no woman is excluded. So that's why we say the everyday woman, because the everyday woman can be anybody. It can be a single mom, divorced mom, a mom that gone through domestic violence, just different things. So we all don't know what we're all going through. And just like I did in the opening, I said some of us are coming into 2026 healed. Some of us come in still broken. Some of us coming in restored. Some of us coming in rejuvenated. Some of us coming in, needing rest because we felt like we don't ran a marathon all of 2025. But at the end of the day, we all made it. And because we all made it, we can lean on each other to continue to get through the rest of this year, stronger and better because we have each other. And so that's what this platform is for us to build that kind of community so we can know that, we got a sisterhood or a motherhood or womanhood that cares about our choices, cares about the things that we are concerned about, give us a safe space to create and talk and have this kind of content as well. So, and then we try to give back as well. So, there'll be opportunities that we give, sometimes during the year, and we try to do that. So that way we show appreciation to those who are, channeling and journeying with us and following us as well. So, but if you have not already, I'm gonna go ahead and say that like and subscribe to us on YouTube and like and follow us on Instagram. And we also have a Facebook group. So if you want to be added in the Facebook group, so you stay in the know of different things and be involved in our podcast community, where we're able to post things and share things, whether it's, about a job or business, whatever the case may be, you're welcome to be added into that group as well. But definitely when we see these new episodes coming up in 2026, share it, like it and share it. You never know how it will bless the next person who haven't had opportunity to know the podcast family. So, but we do invite you to join our subscription on YouTube. I did build a community out on YouTube to start the 2026 year, and so we'll be able to do postings there in YouTube like we do on Facebook. So just like we have our Facebook community group, YouTube has the same thing. So those of you who are on YouTube will be able to create that. So you'll be able to post and create things there like we do on our Facebook group. So I encourage you guys to do that so we can stay engaged, get to know each other, and all the those kinds of things. But next week we'll start our week interviewing the queens, getting to know our Miss Petite USA queens, who will be channeling their journey with me to nationals in Chicago in July 2026. And so you'll get an opportunity to see some of the ladies that I'll be competing against, and then some of the other ladies in other divisions. So, so give you an opportunity, and you guys can ask questions and all of that, and get to know them. And that gives an opportunity for their fan base to kind of check out Chit Chat Podcast too, as well. So, but that's all I have for today. Thank you guys for joining us on today and engaging on today. I hope that your 2026 will be a year of unexpected blessings with favor. I pray that opportunities will chase you down in 2026. I'm excited about the things that are to come, not only for myself, but for some of you, and whatever you got on your vision plans and on your vision boards and prayer boards and all of that. I pray that God will go ahead and answer those things and create provisions for you to see some of those things being manifested starting today, starting tomorrow. So let's keep a great perspective on 2026. We want to have that big energy, so that way, the Bible says, whatever a man thinketh, so is he. So we need to be thinking the good thoughts, the big thoughts. So whatever you think is, so if whatever a man thinketh, so is he. So if you're thinking, woe is me, I'm never gonna get this opportunity, I don't never go nowhere, I don't do it. Guess what? You ain't gonna never go nowhere. You ain't gonna never get that opportunity. We gotta start changing our stinking thinking, and create a renewing of our mind, thinking I'm worthy. I'm worthy of love, honor, respect, and prosperity. I'm worthy of this. I am this. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. What God has for me won't miss me. Start speaking those things over yourself, because sometimes we have to encourage ourselves in case we're waiting on other people to encourage us and it never comes. And we feel like, God, ain't nobody trying to motivate me or whatever. Encourage yourself. So that way you ain't waiting on nobody and you ain't missing out. So learn how to encourage yourself. And so that's why I wanted those motivational and stuff put in the comments, because you never know when somebody might need to pull from there and say, I needed that. I needed that today. So, but that's all I have for you guys. Happy 2026. Gosh, I felt like 2026 was going to be so far away. I remember I used to tell my son, you graduate, college in 2026, that's going to be forever. Like he just left high school and now he's going to get ready and graduate. So yeah, it goes by so fast. Time waits for no one. That's why we should be living our life out on purpose, living our best life, and not wasting time, and wasting energy on people, things, and resources that serves us no purpose, because we can't get that time back. Time is too valuable. We cannot get that time back. So be mindful of that, So don't be wasting time, energy, and, with, people, places, and things that that you're not going to be able to get back. And so, and be mindful who you give access to you, because, energies do transfer, and we want to make sure we're not picking up things that's going to hinder us and not help us. So, but that's all I have for you guys. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you guys for checking in today. Have a great rest of your evening and have a blessed week ahead. So we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good one. Bye.